The house groaned. It was an old, familiar sound, floorboards settling, the wind sighing through the eaves. But tonight something felt different. A new sound wormed its way into the symphony of the old house, a scratching, faint, almost imperceptible, coming from above. The attic. The scratching came again, a little louder this time. A shiver ran down my spine. I tried to rationalize it. Mice, probably, or maybe squirrels nesting for the winter. But deep down, a primal fear stirred. The attic had always been a place of mystery, shrouded in shadow and silence. Now it seemed it was whispering. I tried to ignore it, to lose myself in a book, but the scratching persisted, a relentless reminder of the unknown lurking above. The hair on the back of my neck prickled, my heart pounded in my chest. I had to know. The stairs groaned under my weight as I ascended, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. Cobwebs brushed my face, ghostly remnants of forgotten years. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of dust and decay. The attic door loomed at the top of the stairs, a dark, forbidding barrier. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. It was cold, metallic, unresponsive, locked. Of course it was locked. Why wouldn't it be? A wave of relief washed over me, quickly followed by a surge of frustration. I wouldn't face the unknown tonight. Whatever lurked in the attic would remain a mystery, at least for now. As I turned to leave, I heard it again. The next day, I returned to the attic door, armed with a flashlight and a crowbar. The fear from the previous night lingered, a cold knot in my stomach, but curiosity, a powerful motivator, urged me forward. I had to know what secrets the attic held. The lock yielded with a satisfying crunch of metal. The door creaked open, releasing a musty gust of air that smelled of time and forgotten things. I stepped inside, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. Dust motes danced in the pale light, swirling like miniature ghosts. The attic was a cavernous space, cluttered with the detritus of generations past. I moved cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of fabric, sent shivers down my spine. I examined every nook and cranny, every dusty box and forgotten toy, but there was no sign of anything alive. No squirrels, no mice, no explanation for the scratching. Frustration warred with relief. The box was unlocked. Inside, I found a collection of old photographs and letters yellowed with age. They documented the lives of the house's previous occupants, a family from the early 1900s. As I sifted through the fragile mementos, I felt a connection to these long-gone residents, a sense of shared history within the walls of the old house. One photograph in particular caught my eye. It depicted a young girl, no more than 8 or 9 years old, standing on the attic stairs. Her eyes, wide and dark, seemed to stare directly at me. A cold shiver ran down my spine. There was something unsettling about the image, something about the girl's intense gaze that made me uneasy. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The scratching returned, fainter than before, but still there. A constant, unsettling reminder of the unknown. Sleep offered no escape, only a torrent of vivid nightmares filled with shadowy figures, and the girl from the photograph, her eyes burning into mine. The next morning, I discovered something strange. Days turned into a sleepless blur. The scratching continued intermittently, accompanied by a growing sense of unease. More food went missing. Small objects vanished, only to reappear in strange places. Paranoia gripped me. Was I losing my mind? Or was something else at play? Determined to get to the bottom of it, I installed security cameras throughout the house, focusing on the attic entrance and the kitchen, the epicenter of the strange occurrences. I reasoned that if something was moving around, I would catch it on camera. The rational part of my brain clung to this hope, even as the rest of me spiraled into fear. The first few days yielded nothing but hours of mundane footage. My hope began to dwindle. Maybe it was all in my head. Maybe stress was finally catching up with me. But then, on the fourth night, something happened. At precisely 3:13 a.m., the camera positioned near the attic door flickered. I played the footage back, frame by frame. The figure was blurry, indistinct, but undeniably there. It was the same shape I had seen in my nightmares, the same figure that haunted the edges of my vision. The fear that had been simmering within me boiled over. I was not imagining things. Something was in the house with me. The next night I decided to confront whatever was in the attic. Armed with a baseball bat and a surge of desperate courage, I climbed the stairs. The scratching was louder now, accompanied by a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down my spine. My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob. Taking a deep breath, I threw open the door and flicked on the light. The attic was empty. Boxes and furniture sat shrouded in dust, just as I had left them. The scratching had stopped. The growling had ceased. I cautiously approached the glimmer, my grip tightening on the baseball bat. As I drew closer, I realized it was coming from a small, ornate mirror propped against the wall. The mirror was old, its silver backing tarnished with age, but its surface was strangely clear, reflecting the attic with unnerving precision. I stared at my reflection, my face pale and drawn in the dim light. My heart pounded against my ribs. The scratching started again, soft at first, then growing louder, more insistent. It seemed to be coming from behind me. I spun around, my bat raised, but there was nothing there. The attic was empty. The scratching stopped. Silence descended once more, thick and heavy. I turned back to the mirror, a cold dread creeping up my spine. Panic surged through me. I stumbled back, my gaze fixed on the grinning reflection. The scratching intensified, morphing into a low, guttural growl that seemed to shake the very foundation of the house. The air grew cold, the temperature plummeting as if a window had been thrown open to the depths of winter. The reflection in the mirror moved. It reached out, its long, sharp fingers scrabbling at the glass, leaving behind trails of condensation. The grinning face contorted into a mask of rage, the eyes burning with a cold, malevolent light. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed with terror, trapped in the grip of a nightmare. Then everything went black. When I awoke, I was lying in a hospital bed, my body aching, my mind a jumbled mess of fragmented memories and half-remembered nightmares. The doctors told me I had fallen and hit my head, that I had been lucky to survive. They spoke of stress and exhaustion, of the dangers of living alone in an old house. I didn't tell them what I had seen. I didn't tell them about the scratching, the missing food, the figure in the security footage, the mirror, the eyes. They wouldn't believe me. They would think I was crazy. But I knew the truth. Something lived in the attic of that house. Something ancient and evil, something that fed on fear and loneliness, something that had tried to break free from its mirrored prison. I never went back to that house. I sold it, quickly and quietly, and never looked back. I tried to move on, to rebuild my life, but the experience had changed me. The world seemed different now, darker, more menacing. Shadows seemed to hold hidden shapes. Whispers on the wind carried unspoken threats. The line between reality and nightmare had blurred, leaving me questioning my own sanity. Was it all real? Or was it simply a product of my imagination, fueled by stress and the isolation of living alone? I desperately wanted to believe the latter, to convince myself that I had imagined it all. But deep down, a cold, hard knot of fear told me otherwise. The attic had shown me a glimpse of something terrifying, something that defied explanation. It had shown me that there are things in this world lurking just beyond the veil of our perception that are best left undisturbed. And in the end, the most terrifying question of all remained. Was it truly gone, or was it simply waiting, patiently biding its time until it could once again break free from the shadows and unleash its terror upon the world?